very often you see recipes out there, and selections of recipes, and there's very few ingredients that you can actually eat. So what I'm trying to do here is do a few dishes that they're almost ingredients that we're all going to have. So what I'm actually going to use here is frozen peas as the base, as my vegetable, and frozen corn. Things that you can have in your freezer all the time. And they're really good. Like, there's so many very good quality frozen vegetables that can be used as a base for a whole range of foods. Carrots, little piece of celery. I'm going to use a smoked fish. One of the reasons I wanted to try use smoked fish and things like that is because for a lot of people, fresh fish is hard to get. So you can use frozen fish, and it's grand for depending on how you're going to use it. Smoked fish, again, the quality tends to be very consistent. I'm using a smoked Coley here, which is a very good value smoked fish, but this will work with anything at all. The flour and binding I'm using here is a gram flour. Again, I tend to be avoiding the wheat flours because not completely eliminating them, certainly, but I tend to bring them down to an absolute minimal. For some people, are going to be a bit of a trigger with arthritis, especially the gluten. But gram flour, being a chickpea flour, is a great flour to use and utilize. And this is something a little bit different as well, which is zaatar, which is a kind of an Arabic spice mix, or Indian-y Arabic. It's I'm not actually sure where it's from, actually, zaatar, but I apologize in advance. But it's one of those really interesting spice mixes, and you'll find these in ethnic stores, in particular ones specialising in Indian type cuisines and Arabic cuisines. And they just, you can have these dry mixes there, and they just add so much interest to whatever you're cooking and things like that. So to make this little thing, and also I'm going to use a bunch of kind of garden herbs. I've got a little marjoram, oregano, fennel here. You could use parsley. Get what you can get. Just use the softer, more delicate herbs for this kind of thing. And what I'm going to do into my food processor, first of all, is I'm going to just add my carrots and my celery. I'll put a pinch of salt. Actually, probably better off, because I'm using smoked fish, not to use any salt. So forget that salt, because smoked fish is cured with salt first, so it tends to be quite salty. So when you're using it for a dish like this, better off not using the salt. I'm just going to blend the carrots and celery down. And they've been blended down a little bit. And now I'm just going to add my smoked fish. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of ground flour, which again is that nice chickpea flour. So I'm going to add my herbs all in together. And I'm going to add my zaatar, which is about 3-4 tablespoons. Again, it's a lovely, made with peanuts, dried chickpeas. It's just a lovely, fragrant, interesting taste. And we just blend these down to nice little pâtés. Smash it up a bit just so that the blades can get at it. Blend it down, and you might have to just agitate it a little bit in the blender. You get this nice dense kind of pate. And what I'm going to do is just simply with that, I can shape coarsely, or I could use a mold and be fancy about it. And I'm just going to very lightly fry those. You'll find it's very easy to fry. Just get a little bit like a burger, for want of a better description. And then very simply cook off my corn and peas, give them a little fry with some olive oil, salt, pepper, and serve this all together. So it's only a case of now cooking it up now. So to cook these little dishes, these little fish cakes, I'm just going to put a little bit of coconut oil.
onto a good non-stick pan. Just mental those around a little bit. And then if you have a mold, you can use a little mold like this. If you don't have a mold, it's not really that important. And I'm just going to pop a little spoonful of my smoked fish vegetable zaatar mixture onto the pan. Just about a tablespoon of each one. When you make them too thick, it'll be tricky to cook them through. And then you have these nice, very simple to make little pâtés. The gram flour as well is one of those wonderful binding agents that it doesn't. Again, it's a high protein flour, and with the chickpeas and with this, you don't want it too hot as well. I probably have a little bit too much of a burn on that. It's a nice moderate low heat. And again, seasoning wise, you don't really need to season these guys, because once you're using that smoked fish, there's more than enough salts in that. 9 times out of 10 there will be anyway. And it's a little bit under seasoned. Sure, you can always add a pinch of seasoning on top of it. And as well as that, our palates kind of get used to more salt as well. So you can almost train your palate to more complex flavors, such as the zaatar, and end up using a lot less with the salt. Because don't forget, that high sodium content in salt brings up blood pressure, which is unfortunately quite an inflammatory process. So what I'm going to do is just pop the lid on those and let them cook away, nice low heat. Just going to pull them out of the side there. There's a little bit of heat in that pan already. It's a good trick this as well, is just let the residual heat in the pan just cook them away there. Put a lid on it and pull them out of the way. Just keeping an eye on them. And while they're cooking away, very simply, I'm just going to take my peas and my corn through a preheated pan. The reason I added them into a dry pan is because I do want to use a drop of olive oil on them, but I don't want to denature that olive oil. And we're just going to cook those away for a second, just to warm them through. Get out a pinch of salt on those because they might be a little bit more on the bland side. A little bit of black pepper. As you can see, you can have really nice vegetables straight from a frozen packet. Everything doesn't have to be this fresh, hunting around. If you can get a few nice staples in your house, you can make very, very interesting meals very, very easily. As they're cooking away there, just going to add a little splash of olive oil. Quite frankly, they don't need much more than that. So then, getting back to my little smoked fish cakes. As you can see, they're just cooking away nice low heat. Let them take care of themselves. I'm just going to flick those over. And that's zaatar. I think it's one of those spice mixes that is well worth seeking out. Especially, it's lovely having a selection of those nice spices and, you know, Lebanese 7 spice, all of these kind of, in particular, a lot of people haven't discovered those lovely Arabic-y India. Well, there's so much to India that we don't really seem to know much about, which hasn't been tapped into at all. So I'm just going to let them take their time, cooking at a nice low heat, and just making sure they cook through into those nice little pâtés. And then just holding that nice and hot there as well. So as they cook away there, I'm just going to put the lid back on that and just let the pan do the work for me. And there we have it. My little Coley zaatar fish cakes. Very, very simple. Just made with some nice little smoked fish. You can see they're just lovely, and break one open here. cooked nicely through with the carrot, vegetables, lovely and light. And you know, it's the kind of dish that, you know, you can pull together very, very easily. You don't have to just use carrots, celery, you could use what's around. But it just kind of gives you an idea when you have a few staples kicking around that you can still cook quite a good, healthy, and dish that's low in inflammation. And then all we need to do to finish off this one is nice generous spoonfuls of this little peas and corn, which have just been tossed with a little bit of olive oil. And just a bit of salt and pepper. They really don't need more than that. Sometimes people feel that they have to keep adding things, but you don't, not at all. And then onto that, a couple of these little cakes, and you're going to find that because of the lovely high protein content, they tend to be very satisfying. They tend to be quite filling. You could use a piece of acidulated yogurt or something with that. Or a little drizzle extra of olive oil over the whole thing, just to kind of bring together. Maybe a slice of lemon, whatever. It's whatever you fancy yourself. There's just a little bit of margarine there, just as a piece of garnish. And there we have it, our nice little Coley fish cakes. And I hope you enjoy these.